Did you know that the circle of relationships, inner circle of relationships that you have in your life can impact and affect the amount of wisdom that you access? Stay tuned. We're going to tell you more about that.
Welcome to Wisdom for Living with Greg Mohr. Join with Greg as he shares truth from the Word of God that will help you grow in wisdom and successfully navigate a balanced life with family, marriage, finances, and relationships. And now, here's Greg.
We want to welcome you today to our final broadcast on this series on wisdom for our program Wisdom for Living. And man, it's been I tell you, it's just been tremendous, the feedback we get and people's lives being changed. And so I want to encourage you to go online to my website, gregmohr.com, and then you can order this entire series by any form that you desire, either CD, DVD, USB, or you can get my new book on wisdom. And so this is the last opportunity we'll offer this on the broadcast. So just encourage you to do that. And if you've been blessed by this, just tell one of your friends and have them go online, tell them about how this has blessed you. And we really do appreciate that. I want to share with you again, there are a couple of principles in today's message that I want to share with you that have helped me draw wisdom out. And we're going to get into that right after I tell you a funny. So this is called A Homeless Man's Funeral. As a bagpiper, I play many gigs. Recently, I was asked by a funeral director to play at a graveside service for a homeless man. He had no family or friends. And so the service was to be at a pauper's cemetery in the Kentucky backwoods. As I was not familiar with the back country there, I got lost. And being a typical man, I didn't stop for direction. I finally arrived an hour late and saw the funeral guy had evidently gone and the hearse was nowhere in sight. And there were only the grave diggers and the crew left, and they were eating lunch. I felt badly and apologized to the men for being late. And I went to the side of the grave and looked down, and the vault lid was already in place. I didn't know what else to do, so I started to play. The workers put down their lunches and began to gather around, and I played out my heart and soul for this man with no family and friends. I played like I've never played before for this homeless man. And as I played Amazing Grace, the workers began to weep. They wept. I wept. We all wept together. When I finished, I packed up my bagpipes and I started for my car. Though my head hung low, my heart was full. As I opened the door to my car, I heard one of the workers say, "I ain't never seen anything like that before, and I've been putting in septic tanks for 20 years. Apparently, I'm still lost." I guess it's a man thing. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed not only my funnies, but that you've enjoyed the Word of God. And, you know, we've just been, what's been so passionate in my life, it's part of the vision for my ministry that we help people increase and grow in wisdom and maturity and grace. And so this entire series has been about how to walk in wisdom, how to access wisdom, and understand that the wisdom of God has already been given to you and me. And as we draw it out, we can live it out. As we realize that whenever we ask for wisdom, we're asking from a position of surplus, not deficit. Because 1 Corinthians 1:30 says that He's been made unto us wisdom and righteousness and sanctification and redemption. And if we can believe that we're righteous when we're born again, and we are, if we can believe that we've received healing because of the finished work of the cross, and we are, and we have, if we can believe we've received forgiveness of sins and peace of mind and provision, and we have, then that we can also believe, according to 1 Corinthians 1:30, that we have the mind of Christ. And so then the issue is then, where is the mind of Christ? Well, it's in your spirit when you're born again. And where is the wisdom of God? And likewise, it's in your spirit. So how do we access this wisdom that's in our spirit and manifest it to our minds? And we've shared several principles with you. I'm not going to go over all the principles. Make sure and get the entire, get my book on this, or get the entire series on wisdom on my website, gregmohr.com. I want to share a couple of principles with you in closing today that have really helped me. So Proverbs 13:20 says, "He who walks with wise men shall be wise." So this is a huge principle in accessing the wisdom of God. Be selective about your close relationships. Who you hang out with in your inner circle of friends will affect your potential in life. You can't fly with the eagles by hanging around with the turkeys. Yeah. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, "Do not be deceived. Evil company corrupts good habits," or good morals. My pastor, Bob Nichols, says it like this: poor people have poor ways. And I'm not just speaking about people who were poor financially, but it's poor people in socially and spiritually. Many times the friends we choose tell us a lot about how we feel about ourselves. And that's why we need to be careful about being close with people who constantly whine and complain and blame shift and speak negative of those in authority. Because your circle of friends is going to say a lot about you. If you just have relationships with people who never challenge you, who never hold you accountable to the truth, who don't help you be accountable morally and with integrity and transparency and honor and these types of things, then you need to find some new friends. It tells you a lot about yourself, what group of people that you hang around. If you just hang around losers, then you're not going to be a winner in life, even though God's called you to become a winner. And if you have a low self-image, you're going to be tempted to only hang out with those who are part of the Wounded Hearts Club. Those type of relationships lead to teaming up with the blame-shifting society or the Victims Anonymous clubs of life, where people, they don't mind you joining their Victims Anonymous club as long as you help enable them to stay a victim. Well, guys, listen, we're not victims. We're victors in Christ. But don't be deceived about this. One of the ways we draw wisdom out is to choose our relationships wisely. There's no wisdom in these kind of relationships that are just people have the backslapping club, and you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours, and I'm never going to confront you about anything or challenge you about anything in life. Well, you know, we need to be challenged. We still live in flesh bodies, and we sometimes still, submit ourselves to stinking thinking. And it's important who we have close relationships with. We need relationships that are centered around Jesus, the people that will encourage us but also challenge us to take our place and accept our responsibility to fulfill God's plan for our lives and to declare that no one can stop you. You know, I've gone through some difficult challenges in life where people have done me wrong or lied about me, written letters about me. But the bottom line is, one time I got fired unjustly when I'd left my church and took over this large ministry, and then I got fired and never still don't know till this day why that happened. But I'm sure I contributed to it, but I never was given the opportunity to know why. And my pastor and people that I'm in close relationship with, they didn't help me play a violin and say, "Oh, poor baby, I'm sorry they did you wrong." They helped me to guard my heart from bitterness, from offense, from judgment. Jesus said in the last days, Matthew 24, verse 10, in the last days many will become offended. There's a difference between an offense that comes. Luke 17:1 says it's impossible that no offenses will come. You're going to be disappointed in life. People are going to let you down. Things are going to go wrong. Not everybody acts like Jesus, even though they're a Christian. But there's a difference between an offense that comes and then you becoming offended. And you can look in Matthew 24 there in verses 10 through 13, and it tells you many will become offended, and then they'll betray one another. There'll be hatred, deception. There'll be false prophets will rise. There'll be lawlessness and cold love. I'm not nearly so concerned about global warming as I am about global chilling and that cold love. And all of that starts with a heart that becomes offended. And listen, you and I cannot control what other people do, but we can control how we respond to that. And I made that decision that day. When that guy called me in and fired me, I'd already turned my church over to another son in the faith, and I can't go take the church over unless I'm like that guy. And so I just made a decision. This man's decision can't stop me. And I had friends around me that helped me be accountable to that and not play the blame game. Because if you go back in Matthew 24 and you look at that list, once somebody becomes offended, it sets up a downward spiral where there's betrayal, hatred, false prophets rise, deception, lawlessness, and cold love. Right in the middle of that list, it says many false prophets rise. Do you want to know where false prophets come from? They come from the place of becoming offended. They come from a place of hanging around the wrong crowd, people that just pat them on the back and say, "Oh, you poor baby," and help them to enable them to stay a victim instead of the victor that they really are. Proverbs 27:17 says, "As iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend." If you want to grow in wisdom and walk in success in life, you got to look around and identify men and women that you respect who've experienced some success in life and have overcome some things and are walking in some area of wisdom in their lives. Each of us need 3 different levels of relationships in our lives. We need mentors that can speak into our lives. We need peers who will help us be accountable. We also need people downline that we're discipling and pouring ourselves into. If you're really going to be healthy relationally and walk in wisdom, you need all 3 levels of relationships. If you just have people downline and just people that'll never hold you accountable, those kind of relationships, it doesn't mean they're bad people, but you're not going to walk in the wisdom and the success that God has for you. If you want to grow in wisdom and walk in success, you got to find people who've gone before you and who are doing that, and then reach out to them and then serve them in some way. Give into their ministries. Sow into their lives. Buy them dinner and pay for the bill. Make yourself available to build relationships with people who have traveled down the road further than you. And then serve them and invest in them and then listen to them. Because you already know everything you know. Wisdom comes when you realize you're limited and you want to reach out to other people that know more than you. And if you want a successful marriage, spend time with couples who've experienced success in their marriage. If you want to run a successful business, volunteer, if you have to be an intern with a successful business owner. If you want to be a successful ministry, volunteer with a ministry that has a successful pastor or vision. Sow where you want to go. That's powerful. Invest, and really investing in what other people are doing that are doing what you want to do. You're really investing in yourself. Read books by others who've experienced success. Attend conferences and seminars of those that have demonstrated some wisdom and success in some area that you're passionate about or attracted to. What are you passionate about? What do you want to do in life? Go find someone who's doing it better than you and has been doing it longer than you, and serve them, sow into them, observe them, and listen to their wisdom. And I'm telling you, the wisdom of God will be made available to you. Man, that is powerful. The last principle I want to share in this broadcast is just very, very simple, very simple one. It comes from Proverbs 11:30. The fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he who wins souls is wise. He who wins souls is wise. Say that with me. He who wins souls is wise. So what is this principle? Develop a Great Commission vision. Don't just get stuck in and focused on your success and your little deal and your business or your church or your ministry or your circle of relationships. There's a big world out there who needs this wonderful message of the gospel of God's grace. Don't forget the lost. Don't forget the unlearned or the people that just haven't, maybe they're born again, but they've been hurt or wounded and just need to hear this last principle that I shared with you. The word win in the Hebrew, it says he that wins souls is wise. It means to accept or bring or buy or take from or take out or carry away. It describes the whole process of leading people to Jesus, receiving them into the body of Christ, and then discipling them. You will absolutely activate God's wisdom in your life and receive divine strategies if that is your heart, if that's your aim, if that's your goal. I encourage you to pray over your neighborhood. Pray over your community that God will give you His heart and strategy to reach them. When my wife and I first were saved and then filled with the Spirit, we went to this Assembly of God church, and there was a guy in the church that had a street ministry, and we go down on the down on the streets of Houston, Texas, downtown Houston, Texas, and we go along the bus lines and we'd hand out tracts, we'd pray for the sick, we'd lead people to Jesus. The minimum number of people that we led to the Lord on any Friday night was 4. But we'd see as many as 25 and 30 people come to Jesus. People healed, people saved, people delivered, all kinds of things. People that, we helped to get off of the street and get jobs. And man, wonderful, wonderful things happened. But because I made myself available to be a winner of souls, someone who was available to reach people for Jesus, I was on the main street of Houston, and I was about to hand a tract to a guy that was jumping up on one of the buses, and I couldn't get it to him in time. And I said, man, Lord, I wish I could have given him a track and witnessed to him. And he said, and the Lord spoke to me, he said, that bus can. And I said, what do you mean, Lord? And I looked inside that bus, and inside that bus, there was banners all along, advertising banners all along in that bus. And he said, go down to the Metro bus company in Houston, Texas, and let them know you have a ministry, and see what'll happen. So I went down there, and long and short of the story is, I got banners in 360 Houston buses, and it was the coolest thing. And I put on there, which way are you headed, heaven or hell? And then I had a We Care line, and they could just pull a track off of there, and then they could call. And man, we saw so many people come to Jesus just because of one idea. It's phenomenal. It was awesome. Then I saw this guy that was in Davenport, Iowa, where I was actually born, and he had this large bus ministry, and he was reaching children and seeing people saved. And I thought, wow, that is cool. So I had a business, and I just went to my pastor. I said, could we buy a bus? And I bought a bus, and we started busing in children. And then I bought another bus. And then the children's pastor quit. And so I had to oversee the children's ministry. We saw hundreds of children come to Jesus and their families. I could go back to that church years later, and people would come up to me and say, thank you for bringing Jesus to me. Thank you for telling me about Jesus. We had at the time the world's biggest banana split, and we put it in rain gutters and put aluminum foil in there, and the news channel, one of the news channels came out and took a picture of that. Man, we reached so many children and so many souls. Listen, if you have a heart to win the lost, God's going to give you wisdom to do that. When I pastored, we had one of our guys came up with the idea of having the world's biggest Easter egg hunt. And we were in a town of 5,000. And we did a huge Easter egg hunt out on the rodeo grounds. And we passed out flyers in all of the elementary schools. And the first year we had 2,500 people come out. The second year we had 4,000 people show up. 500 people gave their lives to Jesus. And what am I saying? Look, guys, it's just, and now we did an altar call before we had them go out, and we gave away prizes and all kinds of things. We had another ministry in our church. They came up with the idea of just paying it forward, and on Saturday mornings we go out and you pray, and each person that would go out would pray, and they would go out with gift cards, or they would buy people gas, or they would be in line at Starbucks and buy the person's order behind them, pay for the person's order behind them. We saw lots of people come to Jesus. We had a time where we received offerings for the police department and sheriff's department, and at Christmas time we gave them $10,000 to distribute between the deputies. And listen, guys, if you have a heart for people, and let me tell you, our church was protected. They came around after that, and they came back and told us thank you. Well, we told them thank you. We just wanted to come and tell them thank you. We invested in our youth ministry. We had a $600,000 youth building. We had fifth quarters on Friday night football games. We would have conferences and bands and all kinds of things. And even today, when I go back to that city, I've had adults who were in our youth department come back and say, thanks, Greg. Thanks for opening your heart. Thanks for reaching us. Thanks for doing stuff for us when we couldn't do anything to repay. Listen, guys, the wisdom of God is available to you. And I'm telling you, it'll be available to you big time if you have a heart to reach the lost, the hurting, the people, the broken, the people that need Jesus. And I just want to say, it's been so great to be with you for these broadcasts. I'm trusting that something of what we've shared has initiated revelation to you that will help you to draw out the wisdom of God. I encourage you to go online, check out our resources, and I'm just praying today a release of God's wisdom and revelation and peace in Jesus' name.
Discover how to unlock the hidden wisdom of God and make good decisions for your life when you read Greg's brand new book, Walking in Wisdom. In this book, you will learn practical steps to help you reap the benefits of godly wisdom, as Pastor Greg shares from over 40 years of walking out biblical truths and principles. Get your copy of Greg's new book by going to gregmohr.com today.
We've spent these last several days and broadcasts just talking to you about the wisdom of God, what wisdom is, how to access it, how to walk in it, how to make good decisions. I want to encourage you to go online to gregmohr.com and pick up a copy of either the album that we have on wisdom, either in CDs, DVDs, or USBs, or pick up my book on this. I know it'll be a blessing to you, and I want to encourage you, don't just buy one for yourself. Invest in your family or friends and pick up one for them as well.
Today's teaching, Walking in Wisdom, is also available in a 5-part CD or DVD album, or on a USB flash drive containing both audio and video. Go to gregmohr.com and order your copy today. If you've been blessed by today's teaching, we would like you to consider partnering with Greg Mohr Ministries. Your partnership will help expand this broadcast around the world to give people the opportunity to grow in wisdom, Christ-likeness, and grace. Go to gregmohr.com and become a partner today. On our website, you'll find Greg's latest book release, free teachings, as well as many other resources. You'll be able to access his blogs, quotes of wisdom, and funnies of the week. While there, please connect with us and let us know how you or a loved one has been blessed by this ministry. We'd love to hear from you. Remember, you can order resources or partner with our ministry at gregmohr.com or by writing to us at P.O. Box 7702, Woodland Park, Colorado 80863. We look forward to hearing from you today. Join us again tomorrow for more Wisdom for Living.
Jesus wants in every dirty laundry drawer and closet of our souls. He wants access in every dimension of our lives where our souls can come into the likeness of our spirits. That's the key, friend. That's the key to a successful life. That's the key to prosperity. That's the key to health.
That's tomorrow on Wisdom for Living.